As Old as Time, Part 3. This Same Old Town. The tavern was a perfect scene of Christmas. Merry yellow light gleamed from the windows and poured onto the snow below, and cheerful singing broke through the sung stone walls. The smells of smoky fire and bubbling cheese and spicy mulled wine overwhelmed any of the rank, oily, human scents the tiny village had. The beast watched for perhaps a little too long, hiding in the shadows of a fountain. Any childlike yearning he had for that glow to be part of humanity again was eclipsed by his nervousness about how to begin. This was a hunter's tavern, for heaven's sake. The prince could smell the cold scent of long-dead, mildewing fur and the fresh, lovely stink of all sorts of game in the back, dressed and hung to bleed out. If anywhere there was a less safe place for a potentially dangerous, one-of-a-kind furry monster to show up, he would have had a difficult time imagining it. This was going to be hard. Also, the prince had never asked for help before. Anytime, anywhere, as beast or prince. He ordered people. He demanded of people. He made sure people anticipated his wishes before he even had to vocalize them. Somehow he had to go in there and make them see the human in him before it was gone forever. He had to make sure they didn't shoot him and then beg them to help him, a dangerous total stranger, rescue Belle. The beast closed his eyes for a moment, gathering his courage. Something he had also never had to do before. Then he sprang up, and immediately forced himself to slow down, to walk on two legs up to the tavern door, to slowly push it open. Upon his entering, the tavern fell to an immediate and very understandable hush, and then a mad scramble as everyone grabbed for his musket or gun or hunting knife, or anything that could be used as a weapon. There were screams and cries and general chaos, yet all leaving a very clear area between the beast and the rest of the room. "Wait!" the beast roared, even cursed himself for roaring. He held out his hands, his paws, claws sheathed, harmless, and empty except for the mirror. "I'm here to ask you for help. I need your help. Belle, Maurice's daughter, is in trouble." There was a strange moment of silence. "Belle?" The man who asked had his gun leveled completely motionlessly at the beast's heart. His eyes were ice blue, and the beast had no doubt that the slightest flick of his finger there would be a blood and fur on the wall behind him. The scene swam in front of his eyes. They were going to get him. These foul-smelling omnivores with their machines and ugly teeth were going to swarm him. He had to attack first. He had to get away. "She's in trouble," the prince whispered, fighting the beast within. "I need to help me help her." Maurice was right? This was asked by a man sitting at the bar. He hadn't grabbed a gun. In fact, he hadn't even released his hand from his tankard. He was watching everything more with interest than anything else. "It's the beast!" someone cried. "Maurice was right." "Fangs and long snout," a third person yelled, standing up from the bar and bracing himself for a fight. "It's him!" The man with the deadly aimed gun looked confused. "No, there's not actually a beast. He's right there," an old barmaid swore. "You took Belle," a short man with a long ponytail swore, pointing. "J'accuse." "No," the beast said, backing up against the door. He wasn't one to lie, even as a spoiled child, but maybe now was not the time for setting straight confusing truths. "She's being held captive, tortured, but not by me. I came here to try and get help to rescue her." The fire in the giant hearth blazed high and hot. His fur was growing matte and damp and itchy. The faces in front of him were ugly and mistrustful. Hands tightened around knives and muskets. The barest hint of relieving cool came from the frosty pane of a window nearby. He looked at it longingly. The moon shone behind. He could just break out and leave, flee this pack. "Look," he said, desperately trying to focus. He pulled out the mirror. Everyone leapt back, perhaps thinking he had a gun or a weapon. Confusion spread from one dim face to the next as they were instead confronted with the delicate silvery object. "Show me Belle." There was a gasp as the mirror revealed her and what was happening to her. "That is Belle," the short man shouted, now pointing at the image. Several men shuddered and turned away at what they saw. The barmaid nearly screamed in horror. The man with the gun was slowly letting it drop to his side. "Monsieur d'Arc," he whispered. "What is he doing to her?" the man with his hand on a tankard demanded. "That swine!" "I always knew he was a bad one," someone said. "He doesn't just take the insane. I knew it. Foul son of a pig. Is he doing that to all the other inmates?" "Bella's just sort of kooky, not crazy. Why is he doing that?" "I don't understand," said the man who the beast began to understand was Gaston. Although he had only seen the hunter from a distance, he now recognized his scent. He was the killer and the wedding ambusher, who wore far too much Alger cologne. His handsome face was pale. D'Arc was supposed to capture Maurice, so Belle would marry me. "What?" the barmaid asked, the one person in the room who was actually listening to what he said. "It made sense at the time," the short man with the pointy finger explained. "She wouldn't marry so you had D'Arc, what, torture her?" the barmaid demanded. No, Gaston said aghast. He stepped forward and went to take the mirror. At first the beast wanted to resist. It was his magic mirror, the only possession he cared about besides the golden clasp his parents gave him before they died. But it was obvious that any show of force would be met with poorly. And besides, if it helped Belle... He turned his head away, not wanting to breathe in Gaston's hateful scent. Before too long, he wouldn't be able to resist slicing the boy's throat. D'Arc, he was giving me advice. He liked the idea of Belle marrying me. Gaston was obviously feeling sick. It was apparent in the thick, throaty way he spoke. "I didn't know anything about this. He's a monster. Just like this one right here." Gaston suddenly pointed to the beast, much like the short man had before. Finally an emotion won out over Gaston's face. Rage. His brow darkened and an angry snarl distanced his otherwise pretty lips. "What?" the prince asked, confused. "All I wanted was to marry Belle," Gaston growled. "I didn't know this thing really kidnapped her, and now suddenly she's imprisoned by D'Arc. It's obvious they're in it on this together." The prince felt his eyebrows knitting together and a howl of frustration coming in. "If we were in on it together, why would I come here and ask you for help?" "I don't trust you, beast," the hunter growled. Sighting down the barrel of his gun, he let the mirror drop. His friend caught it just before it fell to the floor. "Everyone stand aside while I put this thing out of its misery." "You were the one in league with D'Arc," the prince protested. "You twisted him. You made him do this to Belle. It wasn't anything I did." Meanwhile, the little man who had been looking into the mirror with wonder. "If he is doing this to harmless little Belle and Maurice," the short man said slowly, "what's he been doing to everyone else up there? Like my grand-aunt Fufu. She was just a little crazy." "D'Arc took my cousin," someone said grimly. "Said he was a danger to us." People began to growl and mutter, and conversations about what was happening and what was to be done began. "But what about him?" Gaston demanded, jerking his chin at the prince. He's really a beast. We should kill him now, and then figure out everything else later. Come on." "He's demonic. Get him." "Wait, why did he come to ask for help then?" "Put him in chains at the very least." Everyone began shouting an idea or opinion. Guns were waved around as well as knives and fists. The beast thought desperately. What could he do? What could a beastly prince do who couldn't order or assist these men or charm them with wit the way Belle might have? Suddenly he knew. Beg. Yet another thing he has never done before. He knelt down on the floor. He looked up at the crowd beseechingly. At Gaston in particular, whose eyes' color, he realized, was actually not that far off from his own. "Do whatever you like to me after we rescue Belle. I swear on my honor I will let you. Lock me up, kill me, what have you. I will turn myself in. Please, just help me get her free first." Everyone quieted. Gaston was working his jaw, trying to decide what to do. "Don't do it," someone said. "He's a demon bewitching you with false visions. He's a liar." But the man didn't sound enthusiastic. He said it tiredly, like someone had to say it. Everyone else began to murmur assents. "Gaston," the short man said, poking at his thigh. "My aunt." The hunter looked ready to kill his friend, ready to kill anyone, just to channel the conflicting emotions and hatred that couldn't help find an outlet anywhere else. The prince almost sympathized for a moment. Not all beasts look like beasts. He wondered what Gaston's own enchanted portrait would look like. "I'll deal with you later," Gaston finally said, grabbing his gunpowdered belt and mutinous bag. "But right now, we need to save Belle."